Well, version 8.5 rolled out yesterday, and that's when I got it. So I decided to test some of the latest and greatest with version 8.5. So let's get right into it. All right, so here's my latest update, of course, version 9. 2019.8.5. That's the latest update. We'll take a look at the release notes, get those going. Takes a couple of seconds sometimes to load up here, but we will get those in there. Of course, the peak power increase up to 5%, in fact, approximately 5%. Now, I did a 0 to 60 unofficial, non-scientific test before this update, so I'll be doing another test, 0 to 60, with the same apps that I used, and we'll see if there's any improvement there. I seriously doubt it. I can't really quite honestly feel the difference. Auto steer stop light warning. So I'm going to read this real quickly because you can see it says your car may warn you in some cases if it's a text that you are about to run a red light while auto steer is in use. This is not a substitute for an attentive driver and will not stop the car. Again, keep in mind it won't stop the car for you. And this is the one a lot of people right here were waiting for, the Navigate on Autopilot. Still beta version, but what's exciting about this is that it will change lanes for you. And it says right here, Navigate on Autopilot can now make lane changes without requiring the driver to confirm the suggested lane change. So that is exciting. The summon with key fob, I don't have a key fob, but of course, I think that's kind of an older update. I've already had Sentry mode. I had the dash cam, the dog mode. What else? And of course, all the previous. So those were kind of really the main ones. The power increase, the auto stop light warning, auto steer stop light warning, and the Navigate on Autopilot. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to go out and test all of these. In particular, these two, the auto steer and the Navigate on Autopilot, and we'll see how it does. Okay, we are getting on the freeway here, Highway 44. We're going to see if we got a couple of exits we got to get onto here. So let's take a look here, see what happens. All right, we are in Navigate on Autopilot, and this should keep me in this lane here. And you know, just for the sake, everyone likes to keep their hands off. I'm going to have you trust that I'm not moving the wheel. It's in Navigate on Autopilot, as you can clearly see. I'm not steering the car. All right, so this should take me onto this exit without any effort on my part. All right, here we go. Slowing down. We've got a nice big turn here. All right, not bad, pretty smooth. Now it's the steering wheel just vibrated to let me know that it's changing lanes here. It's doing it again, apply force, okay. And I didn't have to do any of that. The only thing, it didn't detect my hand for some reason on the steering wheel, but I didn't have to turn the, put on the turn signal. It just did it automatically for me. So I'm going to bump up the speed here because that's going to mean that I have to change lanes here. There's a truck up here. Hopefully I'll have to change lanes before my first exit. So let's see here, up to 72. Changing lanes, it's telling me. There's a car pretty close. And okay, all right. You know what? Okay, that was interesting. So that car that right here, you can see it right here. Let's see if we get here in a second. That white Jeep, that's going to get into that just past me, kind of cut him off. I probably wouldn't have changed lanes, but it kind of cut him off. So it was pretty aggressive. Another thing is that it told me that it's detecting poor weather, of course, with the rain. So it may have been a little aggressive with that lane change, but it did cause that person to kind of go off into the other lane. So kind of interesting there. Okay, let's see what we got going on here. We got 8.7 miles before we get to the exit. I'll kind of bore you with the details there, but if anything exciting happens between now and then, I'll keep you updated. That was kind of weird. All right, so earlier, let's see if this works first off. All right, it's changing lanes for me. It's getting onto the highway. And what it did, first off, it put the turn signal on for me. And then the steering wheel vibrated. And so that kind of gave me an indication that it was changing lanes. Now what I find interesting here is I want to go faster, but it doesn't seem to want to pass. Well, this guy's not going. Yeah, I'm trying to go 75 and it won't change lanes for me. That's a bit of a bummer. There's nobody in the way. Let's see if they'll change lanes for me. I got a max speed of 75. I'm going 60 because of this truck in front of me. And it doesn't seem to want to change lanes. Let's see if it'll change lanes. Ah, that's what happened. So this is what I was afraid of. On the way here, I thought I would try on the way back. Navigate on Autopilot doesn't want to work when it's raining. It's saying poor weather detected, and it won't change lanes for me automatically. So I would say that, that's a kind of interesting. That's a little disappointing because, if you want to try to reach full self-driving, it's going to rain some days, and you've got to be able to kind of get around that fact. So that must be something that Tesla's still working on, as far as when it's raining out, what kind of, what they're going to try to use to try to get around that rain. So in the meantime, if I want to change lanes to get around this guy, I've got to actually physically pull down the stock, and it will change lanes for me. It'll go as fast as I want to once I get past him, but that's too bad. So I won't be able to conduct this test now, but hopefully once it stops raining, I can get back in the car and do another test for you. So that is my first attempt at Navigate on Autopilot, and it doesn't work if it's raining because it says it's unavailable. So there you have it. We'll try to get this going once it stops raining. Okay, so the rain has kind of let up a bit, and it decided to go back on Navigate on Autopilot. So let's see what it does here at this point. What I'm going to do is I'm going to get in the right lane here and hopefully get behind somebody who's slower than me and see if it will automatically change lanes for me. I'm going to go ahead and get in this right lane. There's nobody there. That's good. All right. So I'm going to see if this will work for me and change lanes for me, because it looks like I'm kind of coming up on this car here, hopefully. that seems to be, I've been kind of hearing about other people with the same thing. It's like, you can't just be sitting here, even with your hands on the wheel. If it wants to change lanes, it still needs some kind of indication from you that your hands are on the wheel and you need to turn the wheel a little bit. And then that lets it know. So kind of interesting that it does that. So let's see here. I got another truck coming up here. Let's see if it will change lanes for me. I should probably, well, we'll keep going here. Okay. Looks like it's changing lanes for me. Good. Automatic. I didn't have to do anything. It's passing this truck. Let's see if it'll go into the slow lane again for me. Alright, probably because we're in the center lane, it's not going to go back to the right lane. And my exit is at about just under 2 miles, so it probably wants to stay here for now. Okay, it says upcoming lane change. Oh, I need to apply light force to the steering wheel. It's letting me do that. I've got to do that. Changing lanes. I don't think it's, let's see what happens here. I sure hope it doesn't change lanes on me right there. Alright, good.
In 1 mile, take exit 670.
I got this truck in front of me slowing down. This is definitely an interesting situation because it still wants to change lanes, but there's somebody in my blind spot. Okay, we're good. She kind of looked at me. She was giving me that little look, which is understandable. Okay, she's changing lanes. This is definitely a good test because it was wanting to change lanes. There was somebody there, it didn't. Then the truck got in front of me, it had to slow down. It still wanted to change lanes. There was still that car in my blind spot and it wouldn't go, which is good. Then when she passed me, she kind of looked at me like, you know, what are you doing? I understood that. And then once she passed me, it did go. Now it's saying, okay, here's my exit. The wheel did, I had to apply a little force on the wheel. And now it's back.
Now take exit 670, leave on the right.
Okay. This is a really interesting exit too. It kind of veers this way or goes straight. So let's see what it does here.
Left towards Eureka. Now take the California 44.
Okay, so it's staying there. That's good. And this is another kind of interesting kind of see how it goes around here. It'd be interesting to see how it handles
In 1 mile,
this going on to Highway 44.
Bridge Drive toward Park Marina Drive.
Let's see how it does. Okay, it's slowing down. The max is 55. Got a sharp turn. All right, good job. Looks like nobody's coming. All right. Got some merging traffic. Nobody's coming in there. Probably going to stay in this lane because my exit is coming up here.
Now take exit 1 on the right.
All right. Navigate on autopilot ending in 400, 300 feet, 200 feet. So now navigate on autopilot is off.
Now turn right onto Sundell Bridge
All right.
Drive.
Okay. All right. Interesting. And there we go. We got a green light. I was hoping for a red light so we could test the red light. But
Now turn left onto
later.
Auditorium Drive.
Okay. Good. did not give me any warning at all. Nothing. No warning. Okay. We'll try a different light. Okay, all right. We'll see if it's still red when I get up there. Slow down. Before it turns green, most likely they're going to get to turn left. Okay, there we go. Got the warning. Okay, good. It's good to know that that works. It's kind of scary to kind of wait for them to go, but I was ready to stop if I had to. Okay. There we go. Let's see what happens. Did not warn me. I had to stop. So, still kind of questioning. In fact, this is what I was hoping to get, is when it turns to yellow, then to red, and there was definitely not safe for me to keep going on that yellow. So, I think the warning on red light is still kind of a work in progress. I don't know how I feel about it just yet. Okay, so what is my take on version 8.5? Well, before I get to that, I had 7.11 before that, 2019, 7.11, and those, I didn't have the power increase with that. So between 7.11 and 8.5, I didn't get anything beyond that. So there were a lot of people that were getting version 8.3, which had the 5% power increase, and it was also the red light warning. To see if you're going to go through it if you were an auto steer. I didn't have those. I went from 7.11 to 8.5. So for me, the new items on there were the 5% power increase, the warning at a stoplight if you're going to go through it if you're an auto steer, and of course the navigate on autopilot lane change without confirmation. So let's start first off with the 5% power increase. First and foremost, I didn't really notice a big one. I gunned it. I didn't feel much of a difference. That being said, I'm going to be doing another video. I did a 0 to 60, nothing scientific, nothing official, but I used two different apps to do my 0 to 60 test before the power increase. So I will be doing the same test under the same conditions with the 5% power increase to see if there is any improvement there. All right, on to the next one, the red light warning. See if you're going to go through it if you're in auto steer. I will have to say that my first overall impression is that it is definitely a beta version. It is definitely not something you want to use to prevent you from going through red lights, because it is not where it needs to be at this point. In fact, it did say in the release notes that it will warn you sometimes. Not all the time, but sometimes. So what I noticed is that, quite honestly, it was about 50% of the red lights that I approached that it warned me. Other times it didn't. So again, not the most reliable thing at this point. And some people will argue too that you shouldn't even use auto steer when you're in the city anyways. But more and more people are doing that. More and more people are using that. So with the red light warning, that's just kind of one step, again, trying to get us to full autonomy. So again, not really a big fan of the red light warning, but again, it's that next step that we're trying to get to. It still has a lot of work to be done on that one. All right, so the other one, and of course this is the one that I think people were most excited about, because navigate on autopilot is one of the coolest features that I think anyone arguably will say that we have with the full self-driving function, right? It's not full self-driving, right? But it's the closest thing that we have at this point. And up until this point, if you wanted to change lanes while you were navigating autopilot, you actually had to physically push down the stalk to change the left lane or the right lane. And of course, it would check its blind spot, all that good stuff, and it would work flawlessly. It was beautiful. It worked great. So now the theory is that it will change lanes automatically for you without any kind of confirmation. And the theory is that you're driving along, it changes lanes, and you don't have to tell it that you don't want to change that lane. It'll just do it for you. However, I would not say that it is 100% without confirmation. The reason being is you have to have your hands on the wheel. Now that's always been the case, and that should always be the case. But even if you have your hands on the wheel and you're not doing anything, when it wants to change a lane, it will actually tell you that you need to turn the wheel. You need to move it just a little bit. It needs to know 100% that your hands are on the wheel before it actually makes that lane change. So that is kind of where it's at right now. So is it fully 100% saying it's going to change a lane without confirmation? Kind of, but again, you still have to give that little nudge on the wheel to say, hey, I'm here, my hands are on the wheel, and you can indeed change lanes. So that's where it's at right now, and I was able to put it to the test with the weather. You saw that in the video, and of course with the overall conditions, you saw that in the video. I had that semi truck and also the other car. It was trying to get into that lane, and it was definitely a situation where I really wanted to make sure that the car wasn't going to do something that it shouldn't and get me in a dangerous situation. And I will say this, after having experienced that, I at no point actually felt unsafe because there was no indication that it was veering into the lane when it shouldn't have. Even though the turn signal was on, I wasn't getting any indication that it was veering in that direction. And on top of that, when the truck cut me off and cut in front of me, it slowed down very quickly. I mean, a very quick response. Even before it was fully in the lane in front of me, as soon as that truck started veering into the left lane in front of me, it slowed down abruptly. And again, so at no point during that whole exchange did I feel unsafe. So I would give it a thumbs up. I think Navigate on Autopilot did a fantastic job in that situation. And with the new update, the new upgrade, I think it did a pretty good job as well. So that is my overall take on version 8.5. Love to know what some of you think if you've had a chance to test it out. And if you like this video, be sure to give it a thumbs up or a like. And better yet, you can subscribe to my channel as well. And how about the fact that if you're deciding, kind of still on the fence on whether or not you want to buy a Tesla Model 3 or even an S or an X, if you do reach that point and you found that some of my videos may have helped you kind of steer you in that direction, then I'd love it if you'd use my referral code. Of course, I'll put a link to that below this video. You will, of course, also get 1,000 miles of free supercharging. So who doesn't like that? Free energy. So again, thank you all so much for watching, and until my next video, stay positively charged.